Hello, everybody. Our guest today is Gerrie from ZigZag Global. Thank you so much for joining us today, Al.
Good to me. Hi.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Please tell us about your business, what it does, and where it fits in the supply chain cycle.
Sure. So I'm Al. I'm the founder of ZigZag. We're a returns management platform, and we help retailers of all sizes manage their returns both domestically and globally. And we work in 170 countries now. We're 11 years old as a business, about 250 people, very well established in returns, but a lot of fashion customers. We're working with people like Zara, Selfridges, Superdry, Fraser's Group, and so on.
Yeah, and has all the tariffs and all that. I bet that's caused some challenges around the world for things going out and therefore returns, I guess.
Yeah, it's a funny time at the moment. Obviously, lots going on politically, and it's causing issues with sort of freight and air freight pricing and fuel pricing all over the world. So it's definitely a challenging time, not just for us, but also for our retailers as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I asked everyone this question: what brought you into the lovely logistics sector?
So I was a retailer for about 20 years before I started ZigZag. So I've seen the problem firsthand of returns and seen how much of a headache it becomes for retailers over a period of time. And particularly, I saw that problem wasn't really being solved. So I set out to set up a business that would help retailers along that journey and provide them with a worldwide solution to help bring products back into the supply chain more quickly and save them money along the way. And we've been doing that now for quite a long time, very successfully.
No, fantastic. Was it interesting going from almost from one side of the fence to the other side of the fence? Was that interesting?
Yeah, I think it's really helpful actually having that background, having been in the retailer's shoes and understanding, what drives them, what makes them tick, and making sure that I understand their profit margins. And it really meant that when we did go to market, we had a solution that was very fit for purpose and market ready.
Yeah, and also having that knowledge and experience, understanding their worries and challenges, must have been really good for them as well. And no, that's fantastic. Um, and how do you see the returns, and it may be outside returns, but that sector developing over the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I think what we've seen over the last few years has been a big shift towards things like paid returns. We've seen returns become a boardroom issue, and they're now front of mind. They used to be a kind of dirty word and something that was slightly an afterthought or maybe not even considered at all. And now they're an opportunity to win customers, to retain customers, and to turn them into a profit center. So going forward, the next few years, I think you'll see a lot more things around, obviously AI coming in, segmentation around customers, agentic returns, and you'll see also a lot more personalization where retailers want to handle different customers in different ways depending on their patterns of behavior, depending on their spend, depending on their location, and depending on their keep rate, so how much they buy versus how much they keep. And we've already seen a bit of that with ASOS launching that earlier in the year, but I think that'll become much more widespread.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I believe you're the e-commerce expert, not myself, but I believe something in the region of 20 to 25% of everything that a e-commerce or retailer sends out can be involved in returns. Is that roughly around the right sort of figure? It's in revenue terms rather than actually in volume terms?
Yeah, at least. In fashion, it can be quite a bit higher. So it depends on the sector. So in electronics, it might be only 5%. In sort of home and garden, it might be 5 to 10%. In fashion, it could be as much as 50%. So what you're really seeing is a shift in customer behavior where they're buying multiple sizes, multiple colors. They're buying with the intention of returning products. So they know there's going to be a return before they've even checked out. And that behavior, the younger the shopper, the more likely that is to occur. So that kind of sets the tone for the future.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting, and it's like the whole of out of home deliveries, collections, etc. It's dynamically moving really quickly, and it's hard to see exactly where it will end up. And then on the back of that, like you say, you've got AI and customers you want to look after. It's really interesting. Okay. And how do you, and obviously it's part of what you do, how do you see the continual changes in technology affecting your sector?
Well, I think we need to embrace AI. We see that as a really positive opportunity. So that brings in some challenges, but it also brings some opportunities around better data, better handling of data, faster processing of goods, but also making sure that we make sure the brand experience is really good, and that the customer gets the best possible experience throughout. But it's not just about AI. I think there's still a really, really important role for people to play. Brands still want to stay close to their customers, and it's all very well setting AI off to give you all that insight. But if that customer service is lost, or the brand experience feels too distant, then that's not going to keep the customers coming back. What will keep them coming back is really good experiences every single time. But they want to still feel like there's somebody at the end of the phone, or there's somebody that they can contact if there's a problem.
Yeah, no. It's really, really interesting, to see how it'll all develop. Okay, and what are the people in the sector perhaps not talking about that they maybe should be?
So obviously, they talk about cost a lot, but if our research is anything to go by, we've researched hundreds of retailers and literally thousands of customers, and we service millions of customers every single month. But the big thing that comes out is ease. So we look at 6 pillars of our returns processing, and things like ease, convenience, cost, and so on. We're looking at what comes out top, and ease is actually the most important thing for a customer. So it doesn't have to be free, but it does need to be easy.
Yeah, good. And what, obviously that question was, what are they not talking about? How do you see a format of talking about that? Is there a way of communicating that out to everyone to get everyone's perspective? Because you want to do something that works for your clients, but also ultimately works for the ultimate consumer that's purchasing, because he or she, if it's an easy return, like you mentioned, will go back to that product time and time again, won't they?
Yeah, I think you're right. And what we're looking at is lots of MS Clarity data. So we're tracking customers' behavior on the screen. We're looking at how easy it is to navigate a journey. We're looking at how often do you buy something, then return, and then come back to that retailer. So did you have a good experience or a bad experience? And if you haven't had that good experience, what's preventing that? Is it a policy? Is it the wrong carrier choice? Was it too difficult? Did it take too long to get your refund? And so we're trying to drill down every single time to get better and better and better, to make sure that the customers get really good data around what's the best thing that the retailer can offer, and making sure that they've got the best in class experience, really. So that can come down to how long it takes to get your money back, but it could also come down to did I get a follow-up notification to tell me I've been refunded, or am I going off and searching for that information? So putting that information front and center for the customer, just to make it easier. So I can't say how important it is to make it easy for the customer. So that's the big takeaway that I've learned, is just make it simple.
Yeah, I can tell in just our brief conversation, Al, that you've got a real passion for customer excellence and experience, which is obviously what your consumers and your customers want. Obviously, you get paid by the customers, but the consumer experience, if it's good, brings your customers back and back. So yeah. And how do you? How are is the green transition impacting the demands of your sector?
So I think obviously sustainability becomes more and more important over the last few years and the coming years as well. But what we find is customers want to be more sustainable, but they don't really want to pay extra for it, unfortunately. I think that the retailers and the carriers that will win in this space are the ones that make it green by default. So without making you pay extra to be greener, and without making you go through hoops to come up with the most green solution, it just needs to be available and simple for that customer. And I think if it's simple to the customer to understand, then that they'll be compliant. Use less packaging. Make sure that you're making the customer, giving them plenty of options around returns that suit their convenience and where they are in their working week and their busy lives. So we don't just offer one method of return, for example. We offer many. So it could be a home pickup, it could be a drop off, it could be a parcel shop, it could be a locker, it could be a post office, and or it could be a return to store. And at different times in the week, you might want different things. But you'll see things like measuring carbon footprint become much more important. Say packaging reduction, but you don't need to put paper in the parcel anymore. You can reduce the waste that goes on, and there's a big reduction in wasted costs there. But that also has some benefit to driving the customer online so they can shop again more easily. So turning returns into a value. So it's a big opportunity. And then that links into other benefits around fraud reduction as well. So being able to move customers online where they're going through returns portal, capturing data, and helping reduce fraud is really important for retailers as well.
That's a really, really, really good soft benefit. And do you think the green transition, this is just outside of the business, do you think the green transition will happen almost by market forces, or do you think we'll all need some legislation to politely push us along?
Yeah, I think it's slightly daft that the government allows dozens of carriers to go into the same shop every day. So there's one benefit that legislation could improve where you're having these shared locker facilities or these shared store networks, but instead of sending 5 vehicles in, you send 1 vehicle in, and then you can have 1 vehicle going to a depot, and the carriers can then collect from that single depot rather than from networks of shops that they've got to visit many times a day. So there's a lot of wasted miles, and those carriers are not really going to sort that problem out themselves. They're all fighting for the same business. So I think that's where legislation needs to come in and kind of almost dictate it slightly. But data has got a lot to play in that, to make that simpler, to reduce the cost. It should benefit everybody. It should make it faster, should make it cheaper, should make it greener. But it won't get there without a little bit of help. And you've got the same problem around the green carbon footprint detection. So, when people are reporting on their carbon footprint, they're not always using the same methodology. And there needs to be a better policing around that. There needs to be some penalties for those that are greenwashing, and there needs to be, I think, a bit more robust checks in place to make sure that everybody's got the ability to report down to a single parcel level and not just reporting on, what were their emissions over a quarter, but what we really care about is what were the emissions for a single parcel. And if we can get down to that level, then you really can choose the greenest solution for each return.
And do you think that is obviously possible, but is that practical to do, or would it be super costing prohibitive?
Yeah, right now the actual calculation is expensive, and it's not necessarily particularly green either. Believe it or not, you're using loads of processing power to do those calculations. Yeah. You also can't be sure how the customer got the item to the shop in the first place if they're returning it. So did they drop it off? Did they cycle it there? Did they walk it there? Did they take the bus there? And so you'll never get true data. So it's always going to involve some kind of estimate. But I think there are companies out there, I met one last week called Zero Pact actually, who are claiming that they can do that. We're yet to trial it, but we're looking at various solutions on the market to help understand what's the best way of measuring the data so we can all be greener.
Yeah, I think everyone wants to be, but obviously it's always that compromise about the cost to do it, and everyone, everyone wants to help, but we don't sometimes get around to doing it. During your career, what development in the sector, and that can be in either the retail or the carrier side, what development has surprised you most in your career so far?
I think I was already 20 years into my career before I realised that nobody'd solved the returns problem actually. So, I think how long it took for returns to really matter to the retail industry. We started in 2015 and we were almost like first to market with a global return solution. So for years it was ignored. It's, as I say, it's a board level topic now. And now, just in the last 10 years, how fast the customer expectations changed. That was really driven by COVID. So lots of people working from home have continued to work from home, and now we see returns need to be as easy as buying. So we're seeing that we're at the forefront of that, and we continue to be.
Oh, that's fantastic, great. And this sometimes ties into the previous question we had about legislation. If you could speak to the government, then what would you ask them to do to help your business grow and flourish?
I'd probably ask the government to resign, actually. But realistically, we need clarity. I think cross-border trade is far too complex. Duty drawback's a big issue that's coming over the hill, and there's not enough data and legislation around that, specifically in the UK. So you've seen de minimis dropping in the US, big news around that. It's coming in Europe now, as soon as July, where they're adding fees for Chinese retailers, for example, to bring imports into Europe, and everything that goes out must be able to come back. There's never any legislation on returns, and that's a problem when you come to things like duty drawback. So retailers are often paying duty twice. So they're paying on the way in, and sometimes they're paying it when they bring it back into the country they shipped it from, because the guidance on the duty drawback or the rules aren't clear enough, and there isn't the right process around that. Now, that's something we're working very hard to fix, and we've been building duty drawback solutions across markets. So we see it as an opportunity, but try looking around for government directives on e-commerce returns for something that they know is an issue. It just doesn't exist. So they'll tell you your consumer rights, but they won't really make it easy for retailers to get returns sent back to them across border. So it really does impact cross-border trade.
Yeah, and if you could get that drawbacks into good, efficient operation, do you think that would actually, while technically it's a pain, it would actually encourage more exports and therefore more returns as well overall?
Yeah. I think as I say, what goes out must be able to come back, and you need to make it easy for the consumer and for the retailer, and not be cost prohibitive. I think there's a commercial opportunity here, and we've got to be at the forefront of that. And we're working very hard to do that. I would like to think our government is doing the same, but I've yet to see it.
Well, let's hope that happens. And I just want to say thanks very much for your time, Al, and it's lovely to find out more and more about ZigZag, and I'm sure our viewers and listeners will really enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.